Hey guys, so one thing I can say right from the jump is that this episode wasn't very heavy on the story progression area, but God damn it, it made up for it in amazing characterization. Because for example, right out of the gate, we get to see the giant oversouls of both Faust and Ryu in this episode, and in some respects, it is kind of interesting to see that they are more or less the same from the original anime, but little things like the recoloring choices or even the renaming choices add this extra layer of thematic weight. For example, Faust in the reboot calls Eliza's form Mephisto E as a reference to the demon his ancestor summoned, showing that everything he has come full circle for him. He has brought Eliza back with Anna's help, but for better or worse, he's done it also still walking down the same dark path as his ancestor is ultimately what led him to this point. And it's interesting how a lot of what Faust says in the beginning of this episode, even though he's even though it comes across as him boasting, also comes also has this air of as more also comes across as more or less of an admission and self-realization that while he's grateful to have Eliza back, just by diving into this level of advanced dark magic, he may one day have to face similar consequences as his ancestor did, which definitely puts a major red siren over Faust's head. It's basically that's a rage red siren basically blaring, dead, dead. Faust is going to die. Like he is going to. He, Faust isn't going to last to reach the end of this story. He's not gonna make it out of the story alive. Unfortunately, that's kind of the unfortunate thing. Like all the signs are kind of there that Faust, yeah, he's pretty much not long in order to survive this story. Unfortunately, of course, we also get to see Ryu jump in action and show off his oversoul and his power. But even more than that, this episode honestly just with Ryu specifically, this episode honestly just serves as a reminder as to just how powerful Ryu is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think anyone who loves Shaman King, who's read the manga, watched the original anime, just who's dived into the whole deep stuff of Shaman King and whatnot, can all agree Ryu is strong. But I feel it's episodes like this that remind us just how powerful he really is. Like when you really look at everything that Ryu did in this episode, it's almost one of those things where if you were to take Yo out of the equation, he's probably the second strongest, if not he's probably the strongest, if not the second strongest shaman in their group, or at least in pretty much Yo's team. Like like the man was practically running on pure willpower this entire episode, but not in a way that was bullshit either, because we previously saw in previous episodes the training that Ryu went through with Yo's grandpa. We know the kind of training he endured. So seeing him resist the Iceman team's freezing at every turn, it's not hard to believe he can break himself out. He can break himself out of that encasing with just his mana and Furioku alone. I also love how with Ryu we get a kind of reinforcement the idea of why and how he can be so dedicated to Yo, because when you really get down to it, that both Ryu and Yo are both fighting the same thing. They want peace. They want a place where they can live and just a place where happiness exists. And I really kind of jive how even though they both went about it in very very different ways when they first met, it does show just how similar the desires of both these men, both Yo and Ryu, are honestly at the end of the day. And when Yo does finally does get his turn and he jumps into the battle, he doesn't even need to swing his sword. He just flick their attacks away with a small burst of his Furioku mana, whatever it's called. And yeah, that's that's a pretty insane boost of power that Yo has right now. Like if Yo didn't even like if Yo didn't even have to swing his sword to do that, like then yeah, Yo's I think learned a little too. It's almost frightening in a way because it makes you realize maybe you might have learned a little bit too much. Like there are certain moments where you kind of wonder in this episode, how much did Yo learn from that, and did he maybe learn too much? Is it corrupting him in any which way? And yeah, it's one of those things. But one thing that isn't one thing that is interesting to talk about with Yo's moment, and really just the whole moment of his team awakening their powers, is that and just seeing like the Iceman team like just kind of cower in fear, it kind of really brings out the harsh reality of the Shaman tournament, which is that dreams and all the hard work you put into achieve them, they can easily get crushed and they come to die in this tournament. And that's kind of what happened here, but at the same time, because of Yo's natural charisma and who he is as a character, he still managed to bring out the best of the Iceman team in the end. So despite them ultimately losing, they left motivated to still keep pushing forward, which is interesting in how it shows the real differences between Hao and Yo, which is that while both have that natural charisma to draw people to them, one of the, or at least in Hao's case, the natural ability of manipulation, well, out of the two of them, only Yo has the ability to, in order to bring out the best in his opponents. So even after defeating them, his opponents more or less leave satisfied. Well, Hao would just rather crush them and crush his opponents and manipulate people's fears and weaknesses to possibly get them to join him. And even though I did clown on them last week, it is interesting to see the Iceman team get a little bit more emotional depth than just being cocky assholes. But with that said, the episode more or less, and the episode's final moment is where we see the confrontation between Hao and Ren, because Ren just got a small glimpse of Hao's actual power this episode, and in no uncertain terms, as he said, it frightened him. And for anyone watching, you don't have to worry all that much about Ren regressing, but let me put it the other way. This whole confrontation with Hao is the final push Ren needs in order to finally move forward and say, I'm going to do anything and everything I can to get stronger. He guarantees to himself, I will get stronger no matter what. And again, something I feel is done slightly better than the original anime, because before it was just simply Ren's own insecurities about whether or not he was strong enough. But here we see that what's driving him is actual fear of Hao and his power. Now that he's seen what Hao's capable of firsthand, like there's like for Ren, there's no going back now. He either gets stronger or he dies. I think that to Ren, that's the ultimatum he sees in this situation. It's just a matter of how that happens that matters. And we are getting more and more into the parts of the series that diverge from the original anime, because from my memory of reading the manga and watching the original anime is that in the original anime that like Ren kind of it was a bit more of just, what this would amounted to, I think, in the anime was just in the original anime was just a bit of a sporadic moment of Ren like wanting to fight Yo in order to learn his techniques and how to get stronger, kind of thing. So yeah, a little, again, just overall done better in the anime, honestly, in the reboot, honestly, in the manga. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst, Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, all.